So I got this text message 24 hours before I was supposed to do a gig. And it came from what I now see as a very sneaky, selfish, foul person who I will never work with again. And in this video, I'm going to tell you about this person, and I'm going to show you exactly why we as musicians really need to be careful about who we choose to work with. So I'm a pretty easygoing guy, and I get along with almost everyone, and I'm willing to work with pretty much anyone in a musical setting. Because for me, it's really all about the goal of just performing together, having fun, and getting paid. That is, right up until the point to where you start doing some shady, underhanded crap. And if you cross me in a dirty way like that, we're going to have some serious issues. And that's exactly what this person that I'm about to tell you about did. So let me tell you what led up to this. So I have some really good friends in the music industry that I've worked with over the years. And out of that group of friends, I have what I call my ride or dies, meaning they're the ones that can call on me for a gig or something musically or pretty much anything. And I'm almost always going to say yes. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. I got a call a few weeks ago from one of my ride or dies about doing a gig with what I'm now describing as this backstabbing person. And, I had worked with this person in the past, and that experience was pretty decent for all intents and purposes. So I had no reason for alarm when I was told we were going to be working with this person. So I got all of the details about the gig and I accepted. Now, the gig was on a holiday, and holidays are really hot commodity days for gigging musicians like myself, which makes what this person does next even worse. So the whole band was set to do the gig and everything was cool. Right up until the point to where we got all on a group text together and this person started asking us about doing a rehearsal. Now, usually my policy is when you ask me to do a gig and you give me the details, any plans for a rehearsal or rehearsals need to be in those details, because otherwise I generally don't like doing rehearsals because they always turn out to be just like a big complete waste of time, which is exactly what you will see happens in this story I'm telling. But I understood that this gig was more of a bigger deal than just like the average club gig or something like that. And plus, it was one of my ride or dies that called me to do it. So I just went ahead and agreed to do a rehearsal. And oh my God, the rehearsal is where everything started to just go downhill. We get to this rehearsal and we're going over the songs, and it's only about 5 or 6 songs, and the band knows all of them, except for one, because there was some miscommunication on this person's part about who the actual artist of the song was when we were getting the details, but I'll let that go. But as we start the rehearsal, it becomes immediately clear that this person doesn't know any of the lyrics to any of the songs well enough to have a rehearsal on them. And they have no idea about how they want to perform the songs or anything like that. So we sit through a 2-hour rehearsal where this person is literally just mumbling lyrics and fumbling over the lyrics and songs and all of that kind of stuff. And I am just like completely frustrated because this is exactly why I say a lot of rehearsals are just a complete waste of time. But if you think this is bad, it gets worse. At the end of this rehearsal, this person started asking us about scheduling another rehearsal for the following week. And in my mind, I'm like, why do we need another rehearsal so we can sit here and watch you fumble again? But I tried to be cool about it, and I just let them know that, hey, I may not be able to do a rehearsal anyway next week because I have a full schedule next week. But I told them I would let them know if I could do it by the end of that week. So by the end of that week, I realized that there was no way that I was going to have an opening in my schedule that following week to do a rehearsal. So as I said I would, I reached out and told them, hey, I'm just not going to be available to do a rehearsal that next week. So the response from the band was just like, you know what, don't worry about it. We'll be cool. We all know all of the music and all of that kind of stuff. So we'll be good. And this person even started sending out the information about the gig, where we were going to park, the entrance, how we were going to get in, the time we start, and all of that kind of stuff. So we thought everything was cool. Now remember, I said that holidays, which this gig was on, is a real hot commodity day for gigging musicians, and all of the band members had turned down other gigs to do a gig with this person. I personally turned down 4. So roughly about 24 hours before this gig was supposed to happen, after all of the prep time that we did, after all of the gigs and money we turned down, after inviting family and friends to come out to the event to hear us play, we get this text message. And I promise you, as I was reading it, it felt like fire was coming out of my head. Because I'm like, this is complete BS. First, the rehearsal was never the problem in the first place. The problem was that this person failed to do the prep time that was needed to even have a successful rehearsal with the band. No amount of band rehearsal is going to help you learn your lyrics. Secondly, in this text, this person says they decided to go with another band, but at best, they only had time to do one rehearsal with this new band. So what's the difference between the one rehearsal with the new band and the one rehearsal with the original band? And even if that person had decided to go with a different band or group more than 24 hours before they let us know about it, it makes it even worse because that means they were planning to do it and didn't let us know about it. They were still sending us gig information like a few days before the gig was to happen. Now, you would think that the right thing to do here was for this person to at least pay everybody a little something for their time, for the rehearsal, and for turning down all of these other gigs. And one person in the band even reached out in their group text to say, hey, you need to pay us something for our time. And guess what we heard back from this person? And still now, a considerable time later, still nothing. At the bare minimum, this person could have at least reached out and said something like, hey guys, I'm really sorry again about how things turned out. I really don't have any money to pay anyone, so please forgive me. And to be fair, the person did offer a little bit of an apology in that original text message saying that they were going with somebody different and all of that. But the fact of the matter is, when you do something like this and when you have this kind of shady behavior, you recognize it and you do everything you can to make amends. And this whole situation really has just reminded me about how crucial it is to have upfront communication and commitments and all of that before accepting a gig. Because it's not just about protecting our time and our money, which is huge, but it's also about just maintaining a level of respect in our music industry. We as musicians really need to set boundaries and standards about how we expect to be treated. Because think about it. Every time we say yes to a gig or something like that, we're also turning down other opportunities, as I mentioned, and that trust has to be honored. So always get details in writing. Don't be afraid to ask for deposits, and don't be afraid to walk away from shady situations. And this goes for all types of musicians, secular musicians, church musicians, and otherwise. Because you could really make a strong argument that this stuff is even more cutthroat and even worse with church musicians. And speaking of church musicians, if you really want to know how bad it gets with them, it's something I talk about in this video right here. So click the screen and check it out right now.